Amazing, amazing, Rajat. So how can we grow, right? Now, ways to grow. जैसे आप सब लोग बोल रहे थे, acquiring new customers versus retaining existing customers, right? Both of the ways are there. Acquiring new customers versus retaining new customers. Now, let me ask a very interesting question. What do you think is a better way to grow? Acquiring new customers or retaining existing customers? Give me answers, guys. Let's make it very interactive. Acquiring new customers or retaining existing customers? What is the better way to grow? Why do you say that? Guys, I need to figure out why. Why are you saying so? I need answers. Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. See, there's a very famous statement by uh, the chairman of YC, which was basically Sam Altman, who said that it's always good to have 100 customers that love you, then have 10 million users who like you. Now, if I always speak about this one thing, that investors can buy you acquisition, but they cannot drive retention, right? So I am a very strong fundamental proponent of that. If your retention is very heavily high, right, then your growth model is typically amazing. It does beautiful things to you because you are effectively, I will speak about those things, right? So retention is a silent killer, right? Retention is a very silent killer. Now this is how typically your WAU hota hai, weekly active users, and it's fake data, right? It's not, it's taken from Reforge, right? So what you effectively see is, see, the company is growing active users, and eventually it's stalemating at a certain point, right? Now I want to understand, I just spoke about something, that it is repeatable, sustainable, consistently growing, but in this particular metric, what you effectively realize is that people are stalemating at a certain point. Why is that happening? Why is it happening? So I spoke about that retention is a very amazing thing, because if you build very strong retention in the product from a value proposition standpoint, people are going to come and they're not going to leave. One of the examples that I gave you was Duolingo, right? Right? Yes, obviously we will have to see. Let's not talk about edge cases. I'm talking about very fundamental growth, right? Now I have a very interesting question. I just told growth is scalable, measurable, repeatable, predictable, right? Now, but here what you see is some data that you're growing, and it's stalemated. What does it mean by in this graph? हम, while we were in IIT JEE, right, we always used to say ना कि graph से हम figure out करते थे. Tell me, what does this graph tell you? Like your weekly active users have stalemated at 100,000, and now it's not growing. It tells you two things, two very interesting things. I need answers. Does not have wow factor. Not really. What's there? What's next? Okay. Okay. Yes, it's a mature product. Correct. The reason is, see, this graph is not fluctuating. It is telling you that it's consistent at 100,000 users. What it effectively tells you is that you have a great retention, which is there, right? People are still active on your platform. The only thing is that they are not cumulatively growing. What I mean by that is that your acquisition currently is not supporting your retention. Yes. So logically, if your weekly active users are not going down, means you have a decent retention, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that retention is translating into more referrals, right? So it has lost its virality coefficient. Another thing that I want to tell you is, see, no, it's not about the end of product life cycle, Ashish. It is about your product does not have a great virality coefficient. What I mean by virality coefficient is, right? Yes, virality coefficient is that your users are finding it valuable, but not valuable enough to refer other users. Yes, virality coefficient hota hai one customer that you acquire after having a service, doing a service, how many users he refers by himself. Yes, correct. So what effectively it means that your platform is providing value, but only by you are bringing users inorganically and they're finding value, they're retaining on the platform. Agreed. But they are not getting enough value to effectively refer other people. Same thing which is happening with me, हमारे चैनल पे, right? We started with 100 lives. वो जनता आ रही है जिनको जो वहां पे लाइव अटेंड कर रही है, लेकिन they are not referring other users. No, virality, yes, in a certain way, it assures retention. So how will you be viral, right? It's not a marketing ploy; it's a product ploy, right? Virality basically means it is driving retention, right? So I just quickly said that. NPS is not a good metric for virality. NPS is a baseline metric. I'll speak about that. So, what did you take away from this? That your product is driving retention, which is fair, right? But it is not driving users enough to refer other users. Now, one more thing that you can figure from here, the company which has a great product, they don't build referral programs. They build very simple referral programs, right? So, but on the contrary, Uber didn't have a very good retention, right? Because Ola was there. That's why they had to pay. What do you figure out? What do you figure out from this? That there are two kinds of viralities, right? If your product has good retention plus virality, like your product is top notch, right? At that level, what you will fundamentally understand is that your referral programs by automatically will get designed by themselves, right? Correct, it should ideally do that, right? But here it's not doing that. You understand? So the point that I'm trying to put across is growth models are self-sustaining, right? It's like a perpetual model. You understand? Until and unless you consume the market, right? Which is a very large edge case. Like if you look at Edtech as an ecosystem, it's a huge market. Well, anywhere in the next 20 years, it's not going to get consumed, right? So what did you take away from this very important insight? Retention can be there, doesn't guarantee virality all the time. A product which has insane retention and virality is a self-sustaining growth loop, right? Okay, let me give you an example of. Have you heard of Amul? Isn't Amul a viral product? What do you guys say? What do you guys say? Give me an answer. Is Amul a right example of virality? Yes. Amazing. Right? Acha. Diti had asked, when do we know the market is saturated? Yeah. Awesome. So Diti, we realize when the market is saturated, when market has a growth structure, right? You already know that education is a $400 billion opportunity. If you kind of have an understanding that you own 30-40% of the market, that's the point when you can think of saturation. Ki, haan yaar, this is something I want to move into some other area, right? So, guys, what did you take away from this graph? That retention doesn't always drive viral. So, three layers are there. If you have a product which doesn't have retention, you're screwed anyway, right? It has good retention, doesn't mean virality. If it has retention plus virality, you have hit gold, right? Chalo.